This isn't about him. It's about the American people. And if states like Colorado and Michigan and Minnesota want to start winning again, you have to have somebody on the ticket that can win a general election. In every one of the early states, yes, did Donald Trump win? I give him that. But he lost 40% of the vote.
That is the most disingenuous speech I've heard from
Nikki Haley.
I mean, to go into that speech like that and to actually look at and say 40% of the people voted against Donald Trump, 39% of those people will vote for Donald Trump in November. Nikki, it's time to get out. The problem right now is she has become a walking Democratic surrogate. And in the fall, you're going to see her again, long after this is all gone, you're going to see her in 30-second ads attacking President Trump. You're going to see her be attacking Senate and Republican leaders. Democrats already have it planned.
All right, folks. Well, I got a question for everybody, which is, where is Nikki? Yeah, where is Nikki Haley? Because 24 hours ago, she just lost the Michigan Republican primary by what I believe is a historic margin here to Donald Trump. You take a look at these numbers. Trump crushes Nikki by a margin of 68.1% to 26.6%. Again, this was last night and Tuesday. And you take a look at the map here. Donald Trump wins every single county in the state of Michigan. Not one single county there went to Nikki Haley. And I find that to be especially hilarious because if you'll remember her speech right after she lost the South Carolina primary and everyone was saying, why are you still in this race? There is obviously no path to victory. If you can't even win your home state and arguably your strongest state, how do you expect to do anything here? And what did she say? She said, on to Michigan. Remember she said that in the speech? Well, we're just getting started. Only 4 states have voted. Michigan is next. And then just a couple days later, in fact, what is about, 48 to 72 hours later, Nikki Haley, again, crushed in the state of Michigan, did not win a single county. Now, why do I ask the question, where is Nikki Haley? Because as we all know, the Nikki Haley response to losing literally every single election to Donald Trump so far has been denial, right? She goes out after Iowa, after New Hampshire, after South Carolina. First of all, she gives a victory speech. She makes the tone sound like she won, even though she didn't win. So she denies it. She pretends like she won. And then she says, on to the next state. The momentum is going here, right? So she denies it. But in the case of Michigan, folks, I've been scrolling here on her Twitter, and it turns out she didn't even acknowledge it, right? Because you would think if you hyped up Michigan so much, if you went out after South Carolina and said, again, on to Michigan, then you would at the very least maybe, I don't know, acknowledge the result here, say something, say a single thing about the Michigan primary. I mean, even if you didn't win it, you could at least thank your own supporters who voted for you, right? But, this is the last thing she tweeted out February 27th, right before the polls closed in Michigan. She says, our kids deserve to know what normal feels like. I'm in this fight for them. And then when the results poured into Michigan, as you can see here, for several hours, okay, total radio silence. And only earlier today, she again just pretends like the state of Michigan doesn't exist, pretends like it never happened, and now she's talking about Colorado and campaigning in Colorado. So again, this seems to be the new Nikki Haley strategy, which is instead of just denying the results, she now outright ignores the results, right? She's just going to pretend, la, 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 can't see you, never happened, right? And I find that to be pretty hilarious. Now, her campaign team has taken up to doing her job for her of coping. And I want you to see, this is Team Nikki Haley. This is Nikki Haley HQ on Twitter here. Okay, so again, we showed you the result there, right? Trump beats Nikki Haley by about 40 points or something like that. He wins every single county. Well, take a look at what the Nikki Haley campaign is claiming to be a victory here, okay? Again, she lost every single county. She lost by an insane, if I'm not mistaken, historic margin. Well, they are celebrating the fact that in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is precinct 437, the results here are Nikki Haley, 73 votes, Donald Trump, 23 votes. A real round of applause, everyone, okay? In one precinct, which, by the way, Donald Trump still won that county, but surely, folks, surely it's over for Donald Trump. He's doomed. The Nikki Mentum is beginning now because in one college town, right? Ann Arbor is where the University of Michigan is. It's also one of the most left-wing places in the entire state of Michigan. Nikki Haley got 73 votes, which is a grand total of 50, folks. 50 more than Donald Trump. Okay, and just take a look at these comments. I mean, I cannot believe that this is real, right? I cannot believe that, you know, the Nikki Haley camp is actually tweeting this. It borders on satire. It borders on parody. And you see what people are saying here in the comments. Someone says, "That's it, Blonald Dumph. Looks like the ride is over. Oh, wait, John Kerry in drag just lost the state of Michigan." Of course, this person says, "Try again." Yeah, but I'm sure that one place in Ann Arbor will make all the difference, okay? Now, this is pathetic. You get destroyed and you find a single precinct that you won. We will now refer to the losers as Nikki's, okay? So that is the cope that the Nikki Haley campaign is unironically running with. Yes, we may have lost an entire state in every single county, but we won one precinct of just over about like 100 votes. Actually, wait, no, sorry, math wrong, less than 100 votes. Okay, so great job, guys. And they're going on to say this, right? They're saying, what do tonight's results in Michigan tell us? Well, now here comes the spin, because any normal person would look at this on paper and say, well, tonight's results in Michigan tell us that Donald Trump just destroyed you in the state of Michigan, right? Well, the cope they're running with here is instead, no. They are saying that there continues to be a large portion of Republicans that want to move on from Donald Trump and elect a new generation of conservative leadership. So this is the argument that they're making, because yes, even though Donald Trump is winning massively, the fact that Nikki Haley is getting any votes at all here shows, well, there's a Republican revolt against Donald Trump. Here is the problem, folks, with that logic is, you know, first of all, there's no proof here that every single person, every single Republican, I should say, who voted for Nikki Haley will not be voting for Trump in November. But furthermore, you know why this argument really does not hold weight? Is that a significant portion of the people who are voting for you in this primary, Nikki Haley, are not Republicans, right? We got some data actually from exit polls after the South Carolina primary showing that something around 50% of the people who voted for Nikki Haley in South Carolina were not Republicans, or at the very least were not diehard, lifelong Republicans who had voted Republican in the past couple of elections, right? And don't get me wrong, you know, exit polls are not always necessarily the most reliable, but even if you are talking that 30%, maybe 40% of Nikki Haley voters in these primaries are just hardcore Democrats who, you know, are voting for Nikki to try to spoil Donald Trump because their own candidate is an uncontested incumbent, then that logic doesn't hold, right? Because Nikki can make the argument, oh, but I can win over Democrats. But the thing is, if those Democrats are not voting for you in the general election and they're just trying to screw with Trump and screw with the Republican primary, which there seems to be strong evidence that at least a significant portion of your electoral base is doing, then you can't say, oh, well, I have a coalition that can win the general election, because come the general election, a lot of your coalition in the primary, again, are Democrats and are going to vote for Joe Biden. Okay, so, you know, the electability argument, frankly, for Nikki Haley doesn't hold there, because, again, she can claim she has this coalition, but again, if that coalition is going to be voting for Biden in November, then that doesn't matter. And furthermore, if conservatives are not part of your coalition and a significant portion, let's be honest, of conservative voters, of actual Republicans, you know, would not be voting for you in the general, then this whole train of thought just, again, doesn't really hold up here. And by the way, on the front of electability, because the Nikki Haley camp wants to talk so much about this, the fact that this was the Michigan primary actually does matter. And you might say, well, why is that? I mean, there's only 16 delegates at stake here. It's not the biggest election ever. Well, in the primary, sure, that is true. But let us not forget that Michigan is a Rust Belt state, right? Michigan is part of that very crucial kind of layer of states up in the Midwest where you win one or two of them, and that may decide the entire election, right? Michigan, in some ways, at least one of those states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, that whole region, as a Republican, you have to win at least one of those states to get to 270. We saw how Donald Trump did that in 2016. And again, right, so I think the fact that Trump is so dominant and so popular in a swing state, in a key swing state like Michigan, and Nikki Haley, as you can see here, even with the crossover voters, is so unpopular, goes to show you that a lot of the quote-unquote electability people don't necessarily know what they're talking about, because Nikki Haley, sure, may be popular in the suburbs of Southern California, but the suburbs of Southern California do not decide the election. States like Michigan do, and if you are, again, winning Michigan by such huge margins here, and you're clearly so dominant and popular, then that is good news come November. What is also good news, in my opinion, come November is the results here of the Michigan Democrat primary. And I know usually we don't normally talk about the Democrat results of the primary this time around because, you know, who really cares? Biden is the incumbent here. But we did see statistically significant results this time around because if you'll remember, Michigan is a state with a pretty significant Muslim population. And it also has, as we showed you earlier, some pretty left-wing progressive college towns like Ann Arbor, Michigan. And essentially what has been going on in Michigan is there has been this coalition of Muslim voters and a lot of the pro-Palestine people calling for a movement to not vote for Biden, to actually do a protest vote against Biden in the Michigan Democrat primary. And they have essentially been pushing to have Democrats vote uncommitted, right? Vote for none of the above / nobody, basically vote for nobody instead of Joe Biden. Now, unlike Nikki Haley a few days ago in Nevada, Joe Biden did not flat out lose to nobody, but take a look at these results here. I find this to be interesting and frankly, arguably kind of significant here, right? Joe Biden won the state of Michigan with 81.1% of the vote, but take a look at that uncommitted number, right? 13.2%. And I think what's very interesting here is the raw vote total, right? 101,000 Democrats showed up in the Michigan Democrat primary to do a protest vote against Joe Biden. 100,000. Now, you may say, Vince, is that normal? I mean, I guess let's ask that question. Well, I did the liberty of taking a look at some of the results from, say, the 2012 Democrat primary when Barack Obama was the incumbent there, and only 20,000 people that time around voted uncommitted. And that's basically the normal quote unquote number of Democrats who vote uncommitted in Michigan is around 20,000. You look at 2012, 2016, 2020, the number is around there. Look, 2024, 100,000 people. That is a pretty significant margin. And understanding that Michigan, again, is a swing state, this is a pivotal part of the election here. If you have 13.2% of Joe Biden voters, again, 101,000 people there will stay home, right? They're angry Muslims, angry progressives, angry Palestine people not voting for Joe Biden. You best believe, I mean, it's speculative. We don't know what's going to happen, but that was a weak showing for Biden, and that could spell him trouble come the general election. And who knows, we may be in an electoral situation where that 270 number comes down to Michigan itself. And he is really in a difficult position there with the Palestine issue politically because On one hand, he has his far left flank, right? The progressives, as well as the Muslim voters, and they can't stand the fact that he's been like moderately pro-Israel. But then on the other side, you have a lot of the old school Democrats, you have Jewish voters, stuff like that, who are liberal leaning, but also support Israel. And we shouldn't forget that that's also a significant portion of the electorate here. And so when you take a look here, it seems to me this could very well be an issue that tears apart Joe Biden and his coalition, because if Uncommitted, if nobody, if the protest vote is getting 100,000 votes against Biden in the state of Michigan, then that should be seen as significant and a little bit alarming, folks, if you are Joe Biden. Lastly, though, folks, I want to close this video by just having a little bit of a laugh, because when you take a look at the Uncommitted result, you may say, hey, they actually turned out. That was kind of impressive, right? Well, in the process of turning out, they actually screwed over Cenk Uygur. Cenk Uygur, you knew, okay? You knew, folks. We haven't talked about his campaign here in a couple of weeks. I was waiting for the right moment, and the right moment is now, because Cenk Uygur has been screwed over by the progressives, basically ignored yet again, because while everyone was voting for Uncommitted because of the Palestine stuff, he was looking around saying, guys, what about me? Okay, because he, of course, as most people know, is running as a very progressive candidate who is 100% pro-Palestine. He wants a ceasefire in Gaza on this issue. And so he tweeted this out before the election saying, I think the people who put together the Uncommitted campaign in Michigan are good folks trying to do the right thing, but voting for an actual person who has the same views is obviously the better strategy. Write in Cenk Uygur today in Michigan if you want someone to fight for you. So he's basically sitting around and saying, guys, you keep talking about Palestine and all this. What about me? I'm a real progressive. And I find it pretty hilarious because, newsflash, basically nobody wrote him in. Right? As you can see here, everyone just ended up ignoring him, not listening to him, not caring, and they voted for Uncommitted instead. So poor Cenk Uygur, okay? Even when we have a significant pro-Palestine progressive protest vote, they won't even vote for Cenk. Okay, so you know Cenk is sitting in the corner right now. He's not very happy about this. He's like, what about me? Okay. So it's pretty hilarious to see. But yeah, again, to summarize here, folks, Nikki Haley crushed in the state of Michigan. Donald Trump, a strong performance in the state of Michigan. Michigan being a swing state, that is important. And then you look on the flip side, right? Biden, a weak performance in Michigan, had 100,000 Democrats show up to protest vote against him. You consider places like Dearborn, Michigan, for instance, heavy Muslim population. Those are strongholds for the Democrats. If he is struggling there, then that could screw him over in this state come November. So we'll have to see. But if you take a look at the general election, I think things are looking pretty good in the state of Michigan come November. With that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Nikki Haley's delusion, Joe Biden, the protest vote, Cenk Uygur. So be sure to let me know on all of that. Sorry this video came out so late, but I've been very sick recently. I've been freaking stuck in bed all day. I think you can hear it in my voice, but we got through this one, so we appreciate that. But yeah, until next time, folks, be sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Alpha moves only. God bless. Have a very great rest of your night, and peace.